on Thursday, we ended up having a conversation on Thursday. We ended up talking about community. So we, what I thought was a really good conversation. We started just talking about what community is and what community looks like, and just our different thoughts and feelings about, you know, the process of becoming community and becoming one. Let's turn to John 17. And we read John 17. I'm going to start at verse 17. And this was Yahusha talking, and he's talking to his disciples. He's talking to the disciples, and he's actually in this verse he's praying. So this is right before he's about to be given over, and he's praying for his disciples. And he's speaking to the Most High. And in this prayer, he said, excuse me, he says to the Father, he says, set them apart in your truth. Your word is true. As you sent me into the world, I also sent them into the world. And for them, I set myself apart, so that they too might be set apart in truth. And I do not pray for these alone, but also for those believing in me through their word. And so we saw here where Yahusha directly prayed for us. Yeah. Directly prayed for us. And he says that what he prayed was, he says, I do not pray for those alone, but also for those believing in me through their words, so that they all might be one. So Yahusha prayed ahead of time for us to be one. And it says, as you, Father, are in me, and I in you, so that they too might be one in us. So that the world might believe that you have sent me. And the esteem which you gave me, the glory which you gave me, I have given them, so that they might be one as we are one. So he said already ahead of time, he says that the esteem and the glory that you gave me, I have given them. Already. Yeah. I have given it to them, so that they might be one as we are one. Yeah. So why did he give it to us already? For the purpose, as we just said, all I want is you. Wow. And all we want is him. Yeah. So he gave the glory that Yah gave to him, he gave to us, so that they might be one as we are one. Yes. I and them, and you and me, so that they might be perfected into one. So that the world knows that you have sent me and have loved them as you have loved me. The world is going to know that Yahusha was sent and that you've loved them. So through what he's given us, the glory that he's given us, and us becoming one, the people are going to look on and know that Yah has loved us. That you have loved them as you have loved me. Father, I desire that those whom you have given me might be with me where I am, so that they see my esteem, my glory, which you have given me, because you loved me before the foundation of the world. O righteous Father, indeed the world did not know you, but I knew you, and these knew that you sent me. Through that trust, through what they saw, they knew that you sent me. And I have made your name known to them, and shall make it known. That's continually. I made it known, and I'm going to continue to make it known. Your name, that's in your power, your authority, your character. I'm going to continue to make this known. So that the love which you love me might be in them, and I in them. Yes. It comes back to that love again. That's what he wants. That's the goal. The end game of everything is being one and experiencing the love that comes in that oneness. Experiencing that and showing that. You know, that's how we'll be alike. You'll be known by your love. Yeah. You know, so the goal in making us one as a community is for us to know, because we're coming into him. we're coming into him. He is whole, he is one, and he's bringing us into him. So through Messiah, so Messiah is in him, they are one. He's bringing us into him. So to the degree that we're disconnected, that's a lesser degree that we're one with him. Right. So you can only come in and be one if you're one. So he's making us one community that's coming into him. So we are one in him.
Thank God.
We talked a little bit on Thursday about when you're trying to make something one, sometimes it's rough pieces. We talked about if you look at it like some clay or something that's pliable, something that's movable. If you're trying to make something, that you need it to be loose and pliable so that you can mold it the way that you want it to be molded. But sometimes you may have a rough spot in there, and that rough spot has to be worked out. Yeah. And that's what he's doing with us as a community. We have some rough spots, especially as a people. We have a lot of rough spots. We got things about, just about us, things that we've gone through, things about us, as Jessica was saying, Yah loves every part of us. That our quirks are all of our things. But there's some parts of us that we got to work out so that we can become pliable, so that we can not interfere with being one. Because that's the whole goal. Yah doesn't cut things off from us. He's not trying to I just want to change you into this, and I just want to, punish you for that, or I just want to, the goal is we need to be one, and I need this big ball of clay to be molded into this one. And there's a rough spot right here. We're gonna work that out. If you just let me, we'll work that out. We'll continue this process of being one. So we talk about as a community how we have a lot of rough spots, and talk about communication being one of the things we struggle with communication and just getting along with different things. But through him putting us together, what he says, we're living stones being placed together and fitted together. Like you talked about earlier, how he's fitting us together, and he's fitting together all the pieces. So when we look at as Shabbat talked about earlier, how the Brit Hadashah, what we call the New Testament, and the Hebrew Scriptures, the Old Testament, when it all gets put together, it doesn't leave any spaces. So when we're walking in the Torah, which is all Yah's instructions, everything he taught us, then when you add the spirit to that, the spirit of Yah through Yahusha, we walk in the same type of spirit that Yahusha walked in. Yes. Then there's nothing missing. Everything is shalom. There's no pieces missing. Yeah. It all comes together, and we are able to walk together in peace. Yeah. So Yah's teaching us. He's teaching us all the pieces that we missed. And showing us how to walk as Yahusha walked. As we're becoming one in Him.
Yes.
So as those who have come out of Yah, we talked about Thursday how it's just like a family, like parents having a father and a mother and having a child. This child is a reflection. It comes out of you, and it carries your DNA. It has your DNA. So you're looking at you. So if you have a family of children, you're looking at you. This carries, and the more you look at different bloodlines, the more pure a bloodline is, the more you'll see characteristics that aren't, way off. Now, say you have a bloodline and say your grandparents were from a different nation, that you may have a child, and even though your husband and the husband and wife may be of one type of background, the grandchild may have some different features. You're like, well, where did that come from? Right. The daddy has brown eyes, mama has brown eyes, and the child has blue eyes. And you're like, well, where did that come from? It's like, oh, well, your great granddaddy, was from another people. So so you see the variations or whatever. The more mixture that you have in your bloodline, the more variations you'll see in the child. So you're looking at this reflection, but you're looking at the whole lineage where they came from.
Yeah, that's good.
So when we look at coming out of Yah, and we see an expression of Himself, you see that we look like Him, or we should look like Him. Mm-hmm. We should look like Him, because we're coming out of Him. So He wants to see Himself.
That's good. That's good.
But the more mixture and interruption that's in that, the more mixture it is, the less we'll look like Him. Yeah. So He'll look and be like, well, what? You look like you got a different daddy. You looking like, Right. You know, do we need to have a talk? Right. Because this don't quite. You know, so that's why he tells us all through the scriptures, like not to mix seed, not to mix. You don't mix different types of seed together. When you're growing something, if you're growing fruit, you have that type of fruit in the soil. So he tells us not to mix seed because you want to get the reflection. You don't want mixture. Right. You know, today they mix all kinds of seed. They do all kinds of mutations and things, and they take the seed out. You know, or they take it and hybrid things together, and you have creations of fruits and vegetables that Yah didn't start. You know, they took what Yah did and they make their own spin on it. Yeah. You know, and that could be called like a mutation. That could be called, you know, yeah. So you start to see things that don't function the way that Yah necessarily wanted it to function. So, what is cancer? Cancer is a cell that mutates. It starts to do its own thing. You know, then it starts to replicate after that kind, and then it becomes a tumor, and it could spread to other cells in the body. Right. You know, and you have something that's not natural, but the cells itself is natural. Like the cells, our body naturally has cells, but there's a boundary on, you know, a healthy cell knows this boundary. So a healthy cell has a boundary of, okay, you only, let's say if you cut yourself, cells will start to reproduce in order to heal it, but once it's healed, it'll stop. You know, but a cancerous cell won't stop. It'll just keep on going. It doesn't have a boundary. It just keeps going to a different direction. And how does where does cancer come from? You know, they won't say this. They'll just say, oh, it's just genetics or whatever. But cancer comes from being exposed to something foreign, you know, that causes that cell to mutate. Right. You know, so, you know, so something foreign has come into the environment and caused it to do something, to do its own thing and go its own way and bear fruit after something different. That's good. So let's look at, we came out of Yah, he created the earth. You know, that came, as Jessica spoke, it said, he spoke that and it came right out of him. And he spoke the creation into existence. So then he made man out of that creation and it still came right out of him. So he placed him in this garden. And in this garden, which came out of Yah, there's also this serpent. So this serpent speaks to Eve, to Hawa, and introduces something foreign. A foreign way of thinking. Now, the serpent was y'all's creation also. It was probably doing what it was there to do. But Eve accepted what it said and acted in a way that it wasn't supposed to act, outside of the boundary. So now this cancer is introduced.
That's good.
You know, so now she ate a fruit that was mutated. You know, with seed in it that wasn't the righteous seed. And now it starts to replicate after that way. So now you're getting something duplicate. You get this mutation. So while we all came out of Yah, now the form was introduced into the environment, and this cancerous thing starts. And now it starts to replicate more cells after its own kind. You know. So after we were started off after the image of Yah, but then it says Adam made man after his own image. You know. So now this idea, these thoughts that are contrary. So you see it immediately where, you know, he asks Adam, "Where are you?" And Adam's like, you know, or even before that, Adam starts to, well, we're naked. Let's, you know, sew some stuff on us. You know, they start to come up with their own ideas now, their own ways. This whole new way is this cancer is starting to spread. You know, so and it spreads to the son. You know, and the son, you know, Abel and Cain, and one kills the other. You know, so we see this thing going out of control now. This cancer, these seeds that are replicating, bearing fruit of a different kind, other than what y'all started.
That's good.
So we know that cancer, you know, people have cancer, you're trying to eradicate those cells before it's, what do you call it, metastasized. This duplicates. Before it goes to different places of the body. Before it spreads, So you try to cut those things off before that happens, before it reaches other parts of the body. The human body. We know that we are the body of Messiah. And we know that the Most High cuts down those things that aren't bearing the right type of fruit. He cuts them off. So we know that we should be individually and collectively. We want to bear fruit that looks like Him. You know, the fruit that we bear, the way that we are, the way that we speak, the way that we treat each other, the way that we look like a community. It should be bearing fruit that looks like Him.
Yeah.
And anything that starts to mutate, we have to cut off. You know, so when somebody says something that don't sound quite right, let's grab that right there so that doesn't spread. You know, we start to think something that it don't sound quite right. Let's grab that right there. Right. You know, because this is looking like a different type of fruit, and if we don't catch it, it's gonna spread. You know, so Yah doesn't desire to kill the host. So the problem with the world, when you you know, say you get radiation or chemotherapy for cancer, it kills those bad cells, but then it also kills the good cells. Right. You know, it'll start attacking the good parts of the body, and that's why people get so sick a lot of times from chemotherapy, not from the cancer, but from their remedy to kill the cancers, because that's man. So it's like we're just gonna kill everything that we can in order to try to get this. Yeah. So that's what the enemy would like to do when it comes to us as a body. We're just gonna try to destroy the whole body, but Yah doesn't desire to destroy us. He desires to, what does he say? He prunes. Yes. So that there could be more growth. Yeah. You know, so Yah isn't coming in like, I'm trying to, you know, you know, just want to kill him. You know, what are you doing? It's like, no, let's prune this back. Yeah. So that, because you're part of this tree. It's one tree and you're a part of it. So let's prune this part right here so that you can continue to bear the right type of fruit. Yes. You know, it's growth. You know, and that's what Yah wants to see. He wants us to grow. He wants to see good fruits. Amen. All right. So today we're going to talk about this is going to it's going to tie back in. You know, Yah, we talk about how Yah uses agriculture. He uses those things to teach us. So we're going to talk a little bit about the spring feast. I want to focus kind of in on first fruits. But we're going to go through and talk about the spring feasts that are coming up. The Moedim is the word for the set apart times, the set apart appointments of Yah. And as we're looking at this, it's something, you know, it's not just, you know, in the world we have holidays and things that are just times. But these times that Yah give us is so intimately connected to us. You know, it's not just a day that we're looking to or whatever, but it's something that is us. Like, we are in here. And we're going to see as we go through we'll see how Yahusha is in this. And we are in Him, so we're in this. So it's literally talking about us. Yeah. And it's literally spelling out our redemption. So we're not going to go real into detail when we get to the times during the year. We're going to, you know, go more into detail, but I want to kind of just give an overview, and I want to focus in on first fruits and bring it back to this idea of community. So on the paper, on this side of the paper, we're looking at first we have the new year. So we know our new year starts in the spring. It starts in sometimes they say it's sometimes between the March-April time frame is when our new year starts. It starts in the spring. Rosh Kodashim is the head of the year, head of the months, head of the year. So our first month is called Abib. You'll see sometimes it's called Nisan. After our people went into captivity in Babylon, some of the names changed. It took on kind of Babylonian names. So you'll see Nisan sometimes, but the Hebrew name is Abib. And because it means our words always mean something. It's never arbitrary. So it stands for the barley, the green or the young ear of grain. So the new year, we know the new year comes in when the barley when it's ripe, when it's ready to be brought in. So Abib, green, young ear of grain. So after that barley comes in, the first new moon after that time is when we celebrate the new year. So the first new moon is the first new month of the year. Yeah. It comes after the time of the barley. All right, so that's the new year. So from that new year, we begin to count. The 14th day after that is our Passover. It's Pesach. The evening of that 14th day. So in between the evenings, you know, what you said, when the Passover lamb is slaughtered, in between those evenings, and then that later on, our day started at the evening. So the 15th is later that day, is the first day of unleavened bread. So Passover flows right into unleavened bread.
Yeah.
And that lasts for 7 days.
Mm-hmm.
Then after that, we have first fruits. So first fruits comes in between. So first fruits comes, let's turn to Leviticus 23. When you're turning there, I'm going to read. You have all three of these scriptures on the paper: the Exodus 12, Leviticus 23, and Deuteronomy 16. I'm just going to read a little bit of Exodus 12 while you're there. What we just went over. And Yahuah spoke to Moshe and to Aaron in the land of Mizraim, saying, "This new moon is the beginning of new moons for you." So this is after they came out of Egypt. This new moon is the beginning of new moons for you. It is the first new moon of the year for you. Speak to all the congregation of Yisra'el, saying, on the 10th day of this new moon, each one of you is to take for himself a lamb, according to the house of his father, a lamb for a household. And if the household is too small for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next to his house take it according to the number of the beings. According to each man's need, you make your count for the lamb. Let the lamb be a perfect one, a year-old male. Take it from the sheep or from the goats. You shall keep it until the 14th day of the same new moon. Then all the assembly of the congregation of Yisra'el shall slay it between the evenings. Between the evenings means between the two time periods where the sun is setting, like afternoon and evening.
Yeah.
That's what they mean by between the evenings. And they shall take some of the blood and put it on the 2 doorposts and on the lintel of the houses where they eat it. And they shall eat the flesh on that night, roasted in fire with unleavened bread. And with bitter herbs they shall eat it. Okay? And I'm going to stop right there. And so this goes into, this is the first time where they were keeping the Passover and unleavened bread, and y'all was giving them instructions for that. This is as they were leaving out of Egypt. So Leviticus 23, verse 1, it says, and Yahuah spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to the children of Yisrael, and say to them, the appointed times of Yahuah, which you are to proclaim as set-apart gatherings, my appointed times are these. 6 days work is done, but the 7th day is a Sabbath of rest, a set-apart gathering. You do not work, it is a Sabbath to Yahuah in all your dwellings. These are the appointed. So he first set out the Sabbath. He had to set out that first appointed time we have is our weekly Sabbath. So he set that in order. Then he said, these are the appointed times of Yahuah, set-apart gatherings, which you are to proclaim in their appointed times. So he goes on to talk about the Pesach and the first new moon. On the 14th day of the new moon, between the evenings, is the Pesach to Yahuah. And he says on the 15th day of this new moon is the festival of Matzah. To Yahuah, 7 days you eat unleavened bread. And it says on the first day you have a set apart gathering. You do not serve our work. And you shall bring an offering made by fire to Yahuah for 7 days. On the 7th day is a set apart gathering. You do not serve our work. And Yahuah spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to the children of Yisrael. You shall say to them, when you come into the land which I give you, and you shall reap its harvest, then you shall bring a sheaf of the firstfruits of your harvest to the priest. And he shall wave the sheaf before Yahuah for your acceptance. On the morrow after the Sabbath, the priest waves it. And on that day, when you wave the sheaf, you shall prepare a male lamb, a year old, a perfect one, as an ascending offering to Yahuah. And its grain offering, 2/10 of an ephah of fine flour mixed with oil, an offering made by fire to Yahuah, a sweet fragrance in his drink offering, 1/4 of a hin of wine. And you do not eat bread or roasted grain or fresh grain until the same day that you have brought an offering to your Elohim, a law forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. And from the morrow after the Sabbath, I'll stop right there for a second. And all of these, like we're not going to go into detail, but you see him talking about oil and wine and flour and all these different things. So there's an agricultural part to it. That's that's just what it is right here. But then there's a spiritual part to it to each part of it. Like each part of it is not insignificant. Like each part of it means something and relates to something that's deeper than just this. So, but this what we just read is talking about first fruits. So it says so in between. So after unleavened bread starts, it says on the morrow after the Sabbath. So on the first Sabbath, in between after Passover, the first Sabbath you come to, the day after that is where you wave the sheaf offering. It's the first fruits.
Yeah.
So what the first fruits is the first fruits is the first of the crop that comes up. First of the crop that comes up. So let's go to Joel chapter 2.
Wow.
We started off here this morning with Shepherd Darrell. So the way that the agricultural cycle works, it starts in the fall. Let's look at verse. Let's start at 22. Do not fear, you beasts of the field, for the pastures of the wilderness shall spring forth, and the tree shall bear its fruit. The fig tree and the vine shall yield their strength. And the children of Zion be glad and rejoice in Yahuah, your Elohim. For he shall give you the teacher of righteousness, and cause the rain to come down for you, the former rain and the latter rain, as before. And the threshing floor shall be filled with grain, and the vats shall overflow with new wine and oil. So it talks about the latter rain and the former rain. So there's two rainy seasons when something when it's something harvesting. So the first rainy season, the first rain, the early rain is in the fall time. So around October, November, you get the early rain. So what that rain does, it comes in and it makes the ground moist and ready so that the seeds can be planted.
Yeah.
So during that time, the person who's farming, the person who's going to be sowing seeds, the soil has to be made ready first, so it's moist. You can't plant seeds in ground that's So the soil is made ready so that the seeds can be planted during that season. And then you have, so when we look at in Jeremiah, Yah says break up your unplowed ground. And he's talking about our hearts.
Yeah.
And he's saying to break up that ground that's hard, break it up so that it can be plowed on, so that I can sow the seed of my word into you. So he's saying break up that unplowed ground, break it up, make the soil moist and ready so that I can plant the seed into you. So the first part of our agricultural season, he's bringing rain down. So we read it says, for he shall give you the teacher of righteousness and cause the rain to come down for you, the former rain and the latter rain as before. So he was talking about the trees and all the stuff. So he's talking about actual agriculture. Yeah. But then he says, I'm going to bring the teacher of righteousness. What does that got to do with something growing? How does he throw that in the midst of here? We're talking about fig trees and vines and stuff. He says, I'm going to send the teacher of righteousness and cause the rain to come down for you, the former rain and the latter rain as before. And the threshing floor shall be filled with grain, and the vat shall overflow with new wine and oil. So let's go down to so that rain comes, and then then you have the winter time, and it rains throughout the winter time, and then we get back around to the spring, which we're talking about the spring feast right now. So we get to the springtime around March, April. There's another rain. It's the latter rain that comes. So this rain comes to do the same thing, to get the ground moist and ready. But this time is for those who planted to be able to come and get the harvest. Yeah. So now it gives it a last boost, like a growth. It helps the seed, the plants that are there grow, gets it ready and equips it, gets it together so that it can now be harvested and ready. Yeah. So he sends this rain in one season so that it can be, the seed can be planted down and take root and everything. Then there's a season of darkness.
Winter.
Season of darkness.
Yes.
that it's growing in. So then as the spring comes forth and the light comes back and things start to bloom, he sends this rain again to nurture it so that it's ready to bear fruit, right? Ready to be harvested. Okay? So those are the 2 seasons for that. So he says, I shall give you the teacher of righteousness, and shall cause rain to come down for you, the former rain and the latter rain. So what did Yahushua do when he came? The teacher of righteousness caused rain to come down for you. Let's go down to verse 28. Before I go there, so first fruits, the first fruits is right after that rainy season, and so what they do is they're checking the barley, and once they find the barley is ripe, it is a ripe barley. What does it mean to be ripe? Ripe means to be developed to the point of readiness for harvesting and eating.
Wow. Yeah.
So when it's developed to the point of readiness for harvesting, meaning it's ripe, it's ready to be pulled up from the ground and eaten.
Yeah.
It's not pretty much. You ever buy a banana and it's like green? Yeah, it's not ripe. You can't quite eat that. You can take it home, but it's just gonna sit on the counter. You can try to eat it, but it's not gonna be a good experience. It's hard. It's not ready yet. It's not ripe.
Yeah.
You know, but when it's ripened, it's at the point where you're ready to take it up and you're ready to eat it. It can be consumed. So this is the first fruits. So during that time, so we're talking about the Feast of First Fruits. And we know that they're going to wave the sheaf offering. So they're going to bring the sheaf offering before Yah. They're going to wave that first sheaf offering. Then that counts from that day. We count 49 days, and it's going to be on the 50th day. We have the next Feast of Weeks, Shavuot. So it's 7 weeks, and if you finish reading in Leviticus 23, it tells you 7 weeks of 7. So for 7 weeks, 7 days, 7 weeks. So 49 days. We're going to count. They call it counting the Omer. You're counting the measures, which that can be a whole different. We're counting the measures over that time period, and then we have Shavuot, which is the Feast of Weeks. So the Feast of Weeks. I'm gonna read Leviticus 23. You can stay in Joel, but in Leviticus 23 it says where we left off at. And from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day that you brought the sheaf of the wave offering, you shall count for yourself 7 completed Sabbaths. Until the morrow after the 7th Sabbath, you count 50 days. Then you shall bring a new grain offering to Yahuah. Bring from your dwellings for a wave offering 2 loaves of bread of 2/10 of an ephah of fine flour. They are baked with leaven, first fruits to Yahuah. First fruits to Yahuah. Besides the bread, you shall bring 7 lambs a year old, perfect ones, and 1 young bull, 2 rams, and they are an ascending offering to Yahuah with their grain offerings, their drink offerings, an offering made by fire for a sweet fragrance to Yahuah. You shall offer 1 male goat as a sin offering, 2 male lambs a year old, a slaughter of peace offerings, and the priest shall wave them besides the bread of the first fruits as a wave offering before Yahuah, besides the 2 lambs. They are set apart for Yahuah. And on the same day you shall proclaim a set apart gathering for yourselves and do no servile work in it. So it's saying that between the first fruits and the Feast of Weeks, this is still all the first fruits of the harvest. But there's the first fruit that's brought up, and then from that time there's a continual harvest that comes up. So on the 50th day, we have Shavuot, Feast of Weeks, and they sometimes call this first fruits too. So if you look at, so it's this 2 time periods. So the first time that this happened was during the time they were in Egypt. So they left in Passover and they were leaving out, and then they had the 3 days. After 3 days, they went and had their. Remember when they said we're going to go 3 days from Egypt and we're going to worship in the wilderness? Yeah. So this is this beginning of first fruits, and then from their time, the 50th day after that is when the Most High gave the law on Mount Sinai. Yeah. So this is happening during the feast days. These are the first feast days for us as a nation. Yeah. And then he gave the law on Mount Sinai. So this corresponds with Yahusha and what happened with Yahusha. So if you look at the, if you flip on the back, this gives you kind of a, and excuse the names. I took this from a picture online. So we know that it's the Hebrew month of Abib, and we're talking about Yahusha, but it gives you the breakdown of how when he was put on the stake and he died as the lamb, and it shows you on Pesach, on Passover, and then it shows you the 3 days that he was in the grave. So we know that in the book of Jonah it says that for 3 days and 3 nights, just like Jonah was in the belly of the whale, that Yahushua will be in the earth for 3 days, 3 whole days and 3 whole nights. So we see that we know that he was the feast of unleavened bread. It's the feast of unleavened bread. So that there is a scripture that says unless a kernel of wheat falls into the ground and dies, it won't be able to bear more fruit. It won't get more grain until first a seed of wheat is sown into the ground and dies. So Yahusha was put into the ground so that later on there'll be more grain, more offspring, which is us. So he went to the ground. We had the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and we talked about the leaven being removed and all those things. Then Friday, the next day, day 1, day 2. So he's in the ground during this time. Then when he rises after that day, on the 17th day, 17th of the month, it's saying that he's rising as the first fruits. He's rising as the first fruits. So on the first fruits, he rises as the first fruits. So let's go to let's go to Romans. Okay. I'm sorry, let's go to 1 Corinthians 15. First Corinthians 15, verse 20. But now Messiah has been raised from the dead and has become the first fruit of those having fallen asleep. For since death is through a man, resurrection of the dead is also through a man. For as all die in Adam, so also all shall be made alive in Messiah. And each in his own order. Messiah the first fruits, then those who are of Messiah at his coming. Then the end when he delivers up the reign, the kingdom to Elohim the Father, when he has brought to naught all rule and all authority and all power. So it says Messiah has been raised from the dead and has become the first fruit of those having fallen asleep. So he's the first of the resurrection. For since death is through a man, resurrection of the dead is also through a man. For all die in Adam, and all are made alive in Messiah. So in Adam, we talked about how Adam fell. In Adam, all died. But in the Mashiach, in Messiah, we're made alive. It says each in his own order. Messiah, the first fruits. Then those who are of Messiah, who are in Messiah at his coming. So the Messiah is the first fruit of us. He's the first. He's that first wave offering He's the first one who's become ripe. We said ripe was developed to the point of readiness for harvesting and eating. So he was the first one made ready, perfected. He's the first fruits. Also goes with the concept of the firstborn. We know the scripture says that Yahusha is the firstborn, right? And it also calls Israel the firstborn, right? We're the firstborn. It says Israel is the firstborn son. As a nation, when he tells Pharaoh to let his people go, in Exodus 4:22, he says, "And you shall say to Pharaoh, thus said Yahuah, Yisra'el is my son, my firstborn. So I say to you, let my son go to serve me. But if you refuse to let him go, I'm killing your son, your firstborn." So because they held the firstborn, our people, the firstborn son of Yah, captive, then their firstborns were the ransom for. They had to give their firstborn sons up. So we're the firstborn community, the firstborn group of Yah, the firstborn. So in the scripture, the firstborn gets a double portion of the inheritance out of all the sons. And the firstborn is also the priest, as the priesthood. So as a people, Yah called us to be a priesthood, and he called us to that first place. We're the firstborn nation out of all the nations of the earth. So this is this place that he puts us in. So we know that we failed as our role as a nation. So then out of this nation, he pulled Yahusha out of this nation, the Messiah. And we know that he had a double portion, as he got the full inheritance. We haven't gotten the full inheritance yet, but he was risen and given, he's glorified, he was given the fullness of the Spirit, he was given the firstborn portion of that inheritance. And he was resurrected. But he's the first of what we are going to be. He's inherited what we are inheriting. So let's look back. He inherited first what we are going to inherit. He's become what we are going to become. Having purposed that he brought us forth by the word of truth for us to be a kind of firstfruits of his creatures. That's James 1:18. He brought us forth to be a kind of first fruit of his creatures. I'm looking for. I can't find my verse right now, but he says that he gave us the first fruits of the Spirit. Okay. So when we were reading in Joel, it said that he took down the teacher of righteousness, caused the rain to come down for you, the former rain and the latter rain as before. Then down to verse 28 it says, "And after this it shall be that I pour out my spirit on all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, your old man dream dreams, your young men see visions. And on the male service and on the female service I shall pour out my spirit in those days." So we know that when Yahusha came, that he allowed for the spirit to be poured out. So and that's when we talk about Shavuot. The first Shavuot was when Yah gave them the word on Mount Sinai. But when Yahusha came, he was the first fruit. When he died on the stake, he was resurrected. He was the first fruits, and this was the first fruits fulfillment. Then after that, there was a 50-day count. And during those days, he appeared to his disciples, and he was there. But then he said, don't touch me. He told the first ones, don't, until I ascend to the Father. And he taught them during those days, and he said, wait for the gift that I'm going to send you. So wait for the gift that I'm going to send you. So on that 50th day is when they were in the room, and it said that tongues of fire came down on them. So when the Spirit came down on him, we're reading in Joel where it says that in this time I will pour out my Spirit on all flesh. The teacher of righteousness causes the rain to come down for you, the former rain and the latter rain, as before. So the teacher of righteousness caused this rain of the Spirit to be able to fall down on us when he ascended as the first fruits. And now from this time, he made it possible for this rain to come down on us of the Spirit.
Yeah.
So that what do we say that the rain does it makes the ground ready.
Yeah.
And there's two time periods. There's a time period where the Spirit is making the ground ready to receive the seed of the word, which is what's going on here in this rain period. And he says, and it's going to be a time where I'm going to pour out my Spirit again, so that now it's time for the harvest.
Yeah.
Now it's time for you to be made ready.
Yeah.
For harvesting and eating, being able to have fruit that's ready for the people to be able to consume. So Yisra'el is the firstborn son, and Yahusha is the firstborn son.
Yeah.
And Yahusha is the first fruits of Yisra'el to be risen.
Yeah.
And Yisra'el is the first fruits of the nations to be risen. So Yah always pulls out the cream of the crop. He pulls out those who are ripe and made ready.
Yeah.
But he's coming back for more to be brought in. The harvest is plentiful.
Yeah.
But he needs the workers to be able to be prepared to bring in the harvest.
That's good. Yeah. Praise God.
And to be able to do that, he gave us the first fruits of the Spirit.
Yeah.
He gave us the first fruits of the Spirit. And what does he tell us to do? Like this all, and he tells us to bear the fruit of the Spirit.
Yeah.
Bear the fruit of the Spirit. So it overlaps. Like there's so many. It's hard to teach this because there's so many layers to it. There's so many. Like y'all put so much intention into it. Everything means something.
Yeah.
But the point to take away from it is that it all points back to us.
Yeah.
We are in it. We're the grain. We're the first fruit of the creation. We read last week. It said the creation is groaning and waiting for the sons of Yah to be revealed.
Yes.
Those who have the inheritance to be revealed, for the glory to be revealed. So Yah put this all in order, and he put so much into it, so intentionally.
Wow.
When he tells them to give the first fruits, for first fruits we offer our first fruit, whatever is the increase of whatever is of our increase, we offer to Yah.
Yeah.
Because we offer him the first. This is the first, it's the best thing. If you didn't offer, if the firstborn of, they had to offer the firstborn son of the womb was a priest to Yah, but then even the animals, the firstborn of the animals, all of it was always set apart to Yah.
Yeah.
And you couldn't eat that, you couldn't consume that, you couldn't, just like us, like we are the firstborn, the first fruits to Yah, so he sees us as his priest. You're not you're set apart. You're not for consumption and other things. You're not for, you can't just do what you want to do. You can't go just in the world doing other things because you've been set apart. So he was telling them in this to set apart their, and I believe that's in the Deuteronomy verses on your paper, but he tells them to set apart, when you enter the land, your first fruit of your increase. So Yah blessed the land during all this time period. He blessed the land and he allowed it to grow. So when the first ripe part comes out, you offer that to Yah.
Yeah.
Because that's the first. And then he said, if you offer that to me, I'll bless the rest of it.
Yeah.
So when things are in his right order, he's able to bless the whole. But it says if you withhold it, then you're messing with the rest of it. You're messing up the order. You're messing up the agricultural process of how, when we talk about seed time and harvest, the reaping and sowing, you're messing up that process. So if y'all didn't give up Yahusha, then we couldn't be. If Yahusha didn't raise, then we have no hope of a resurrection coming.
Yeah.
So if he didn't give Yahusha first, he had to make that sacrifice first. It caused him to go through that process to be resurrected and offered up to him so that he can play his role in the priesthood. If that didn't happen first, if he would have kept that to himself, we talk about how to give up your son, like that got to be rough, your firstborn son, you know, but if you didn't give him up, then there would be no harvest. There wouldn't be the rest of us. So sometimes we have to sacrifice something for the rest to come. If we're not willing to sacrifice that first thing, that, you know, if Isaac didn't sacrifice his son, that he thought, this is the promise, I can't take Jacob in, I mean, he's the promise, you know, but if he didn't take him and sacrifice him, there'd have been no Yisra'el. There'd have been no people, you know. So if we're not willing to sacrifice the things that, you know, the first of the harvest was the best. It wasn't like this is, you know, scrape up a little, find some little grapes that just fell off, you know what I mean? Like, it was the best. But that goes back to what we talked about, trust. That this is the best of the rest. This is the best, and there's way more than this, better than this to come. So I can willingly sacrifice this because I know that this is just showing me the evidence of what's more to come. You know, so I can sacrifice this. It's nothing. Because this is showing me the evidence that there's more to come. I'm looking at this right thing, this right here. You can have this because clearly you have a whole lot more. You know, and just think about that in context of the things in our life that y'all needs us to sacrifice things at times so that we can get what we can get the rest. If he was able to produce the thing that we don't want to sacrifice, why do we think that he can't produce the rest of it? You know?
I don't know why we think like that.
He can produce the rest of it. And I mean, I'm not just talking about money, y'all. Like, I'm talking about everything in our lives. You know, I'm talking about everything in our lives. There's things that come and we like, well, this, I'm going to hold on to this because, ooh, this is the best I've seen yet. This is the best, you know what I mean? So it's like, well, you don't, if there's this, trust me. You know, because the sacrifice is just laying it down. He laid down, Yahusha laid down his life so that it can be risen back up. Even better than what was laid down. So it's not that y'all's taking it from him. Lay it down. Lay it down, and I'm going to give it back to you in its best form.
Hallelujah.
Even Yahusha, we look at how he was perfected, but he's just the head of the body. But you give me the head of the body, and I'm going to give you back a whole body. What is the head going to do by itself?
Right.
So you lay this down, and look what comes back out of that. That plus more. So that's y'all economics. That's how he operates in his system. He tries to get us to come into understanding of how he flows and how he works. Because he's never trying to take away. Did he take Isaac away?
No.
I mean, did he take Jacob away from Isaac? He
No.
didn't take him away.
No.
What am I saying? Isaac.
Yes.
Isaac. Like I said, Jacob. Isaac. Did he take Isaac away? No.
Right.
Did he take Yahusha away? No.
Right.
It's a process of dying that has to happen for life to come.
Yes.
There's a process of dying that has to happen for life to come. Unless the seed has everything in it, unless that goes to the ground, it'll never multiply. You'll never get fruit from it. So what do we need to die? To go through that process of darkness, just so what needs to be worked out can be worked out. And then there's a resurrection. Then there's a bearing of fruit. Then there's life that comes after that. But first, we got to trust Yah. With the evidence he's already showed us. He's already showed us. So we got to get our minds right. Like, the world got us thinking poverty. We come from poverty mindset. But we think we got to grab hold of and keep everything. You know, but Yah teaches us, even when the harvest would come up, he would tell them, don't bring all of it in. Leave some on the edges so that, you know, people that are poor can come in and have some. You know, all of this. All this is mine, you know. And Yah's like, there's plenty more. No, you just surrender to me. There's plenty more. I will bring for you what you need. Surrender to me. He has everything. He's the master of the harvest. The Lord of the harvest. Yes. He'll bring it forth if we just trust him.
Yes.
Amen.
Amen. Word.
Amen.
Word.
Father, we just thank you today, Father.
Yes.
We thank you. We thank you.